What's up, Ann Brothers?
Hello, Jenny Brothers.
Look at you. You're wearing your crown from this morning's events.
Exactly. Gotta get all the mileage out of it as I can.
I can see why. It's pretty amazing. So, for those of you that are listening rather than watching, Ann Brothers is wearing her beautiful unicorn crown that she wore during this morning's what is it? The Winter Dash or the
Winter Blast.
Yes. So yeah, pretty stunning. Pretty stunning. It is. It has a little floaty thing in the middle. Indeed. So, what's up, Ann Brothers? Happy Sunday. It is Ann Brothers, the last Sunday of February.
That's
So
crazy, Jenny Brothers. Crazy.
I know it is. And as promised, the weather delivered this week. In other words, it was warm and beautiful and spring-like, and we all got fished in. Get the net! Get the net! And then, of course, I look outside my window today, and it is windy and snowing and blowing and doing all of the things that Michigan does in February. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's winters for real.
Yeah, so fake spring was followed by real winter because after all, it is still February, and we still have a solid month of winter left on the calendar, even though meteorological winter starts next Sunday because our meteorological spring starts on Sunday. Yeah, so that's that March 1st, which is though not, astronomical spring, it is meteorological spring. So, yay. That's good. That's good. So anyway, yes, so we had debated all week what to talk about this week. And nothing was coming to mind, nothing coming to mind. And then we just decided, you know what? Let's talk about things that interested us this week. So here we are. We're just going to talk about stuff that was interesting or not. I mean, interesting to us. The thing is, it's so hard to know what's interesting to people, but we picked 5 things each that were interesting. Actually, I might have picked 6, and I almost had to pick 7.
Oh,
so
what?
I know. We'll see. We'll see if we get to number 6. We'll see. I don't know if we'll get there or not. So, but we might run out of time. We might just decide that I'm done talking. So yeah. So anyway, what's new in the world, Ann Brothers?
Well, Jenny, I will talk about that when we get to our show. What's new in the world? I was just looking at the what is it? Doom scrolling. Did something happen in Mexico? Something?
I don't know. Let's find out.
Anyway,
Did something
just kind of doom scrolling, looking at stuff. Actually, what really interested me was my reels on Facebook because it reels of baby corn. That made me happy, and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Raccoons escaping.
Mexico's most wanted drug dealer, El Mencho, was killed in a military operation. On February 22nd, the Mexican army killed Nemesio Ruben Osguera Cervantes, known as El Mencho, the leader of the powerful Jalisco New Generation cartel.
So I guess that Duncan's uncle lives in Mexico, and I guess it happened near them. So,
ooh,
yeah.
What else did it have to say here? Okay, the mountain of Tapalpa near Guadalajara, involving Mexican Special Forces, Air Force, National Guard, reportedly with intelligence from U.S. authorities. So the event triggered violent retaliatory blockades with burning vehicles across multiple states, particularly in Jalisco and near Puerto Vallarta. Ooh, damn. So there's been a Mexican travel advisory that has been posted.
Okay.
So yes, Ann Brothers, to answer your question, yes, something happened in Mexico today. So
something happened in Mexico today, and so but Duncan's uncle and his wife are fine, but yeah, they're kind of like, ducking and covering.
Yeah, definitely. Yeesh. Okay. So yeah, well then let's jump in. Let's get to our interesting stuff. Let's just without further ado, let's go to there. So there we go. Look, Ann, you posted a picture of the most interesting man in the world.
Exactly. I thought that was funny.
I love it.
I was like, ooh, it's the most interesting man in the world.
That's right. And we're not going to talk about him, even though he's super interesting. So we could if we wanted to. Ann, you want to do the intro? Do the intro.
Sure. Be happy to.
Do it.
So welcome or welcome back We are Anne and Janice brothers. We're sisters, and our last name is Brothers. No, we are not twins. I can't tell you how often Jenny and I got that question when we were young. No, we are not twins. Why would our last name make you think we were twins? Do you not know how siblings work? Anyway,
You can be sisters and not be twins. Surprise!
exactly, with the last name of Brothers and still not be twins. I never got that. I was like, do you not know what family? Anyway, I would just digress. We're in our 50s. We're Generation X. We would like to thank the millennials for things like participation ribbons, medals, and trophies.
For
That was
real.
We wouldn't have gotten medals or trophies unless we won it. So today, Jenny and I got to experience the joy of the participation medal. And I got to tell you, it makes me feel good every time. So,
Yeah.
those millennials, they were on to something. Now, Jenny and I, we talk about smart stuff, fun stuff, dumb stuff, and any combination of the three. And we are not cool, hip, or sexy. We know this because of all the layers that we wear during a 5K winter in the winter. Today we were hanging out with people that were doing 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. They were wearing shorts with nothing under their shorts and like tank top stuff. And I was like, Jenny and I could barely put our arms down for the amount of clothing we had on today. So cool, hip, and sexy people that do running do not dress the way we dressed today.
I'm trying to think of how many layers did I have on my upper body. I had fewer layers than I did when we did the couple shuffle back in January. So I had t-shirt, turtleneck, long sleeve, sweatshirt, and then I had my race shirt over the top. So yeah, I had 5 layers this time as opposed to 6 in January. So there
Yeah,
you
I
go.
think the only thing I didn't have on this time was my big winter coat. So I was pretty pleased with myself because it was like 27 degrees this time. So
Yeah, it felt balmy out there today compared to what we did back in January. It was
mhm,
kind of nice because we were kind of down in this little trail along the river,
mhm,
so we were kind of cut from the wind, which was nice. So
which was very nice.
we didn't really experience any wind until we got back up towards the high school. So yeah, it was really nice.
We're not a true crime celebrity or influencer podcast. I mean, we don't even know any true crime celebrity or influencer podcasts. So we
Yeah,
have no mentors. We have no
no, no,
examples in our lives.
no.
So we couldn't be those things. We've been told we're good to listen to when we want to learn things about stuff, and because honestly, we're just plain funny. So there you go.
Through that, yes,
Need a laugh,
it's true.
listen to us. This podcast is not GPG or even PG-13 because fucking winter is back. And if you don't know that, go up to the near the Upper Peninsula of Michigan for the 5th day in the road. Our Mackinac Bridge has been closed 5 days in a row.
Yeah, I've been looking at the radar all day, and if you look at the radar, you can see southern Michigan that's covered with snow, the northern portion of Michigan, which is covered with snow, and the bridge
Mhm.
area is covered with snow.
Covered with
So yeah,
snow.
it's just they've just been getting whooped this week. So yeah, and they closed the Mackinac Bridge for a couple of reasons. A, when it gets really windy, B, when it gets really windy and then there's snow blocking everything, and C, when ice starts to fall off the top of the bridge and hits the road below, you're like, "Oh, shit me."
Yeah, exactly. And the thing
Yeah.
is, we don't even have it as bad as like New York State is going to get it. I mean, some of the states on the East Coast, there on the northern East Coast, are going to get freaking hammered this
Yeah,
tonight.
they're
So
winding up for a generational blizzard by the look of it. So,
yeah,
Boston, New York, Maine, keep it tight, you guys. Keep it tight.
yeah,
That's all I have to say.
yeah. It's not going to be
Yeah,
good. So,
yeah, they're gonna get it for reals.
mhm.
So,
So please join us on our website, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and Amazon Music. You can like us and follow us and hit the bell, leave us a review, and give us your feedback with our questions and answers and our polls. You can even, if you're watching us live, you can certainly comment. We will respond to you, unless it's mean, and then we will. You can ask Alexa
no, I'll
Bliss.
respond. I will respond with something equally mean, or I will tell you to jam it up your cram hole or something like that.
Something like
Something
that.
that's
So
just savage, savage.
you will be
I'll be like,
devastated.
you'll be devastated by my remarks. Seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you can ask Alexa to play us and then she will. You know, she's still got to do what we say for at least a little while longer.
Now.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not planning on that lasting very long.
I'm
So,
not either, but I'm enjoying it while it lasts.
yeah, for sure.
All
Um,
right,
yeah.
that's it. Welcome back.
As far as supporting us, you can support us for absolutely free. All you have to do is like, follow, subscribe, leave a review on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. And I'm a little bit disappointed in Alexa right now because they've taken away some options. Every time some one of these big tech companies updates their stuff, their apps, they take something away, and it just kills me because it's like, damn it. Why can't we just get more instead of less? The whole world
Right.
is shrinkflating. Used to be you could get Alexa with an English accent. No more English accent. I can't get English Alexa. I really liked English Alexa.
Oh,
I know now we have
that's
just some boring white lady again. So, yeah.
oh,
I know.
sorry.
We had to take the teenager off though because she was a little too perky and happy and wanted to help too much. I'm like, "No, man. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not built that way." So, you
Yeah.
know. All right,
Very
Anne, let's talk about the smart, dumb, and fun stuff that happened this week. I'm going to start this week.
cool.
No, I want you to start this week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
of course, this morning, I'm trying to, this year, I'm trying to participate in a 5K each month. And this month, our 5K was Portage Winter Blast, which is in Portage, Michigan. If you don't know where it is, it's near Kalamazoo. Look it up on a map. Jenny and I participated, and we did a good job. I think Jenny thinks we were the first people walking to get there, so we disappointed some 10K dude who was like really hustling to beat the chubby white women who were dancing into the finish line, not even trying to like make our best time. And he's
No.
like trying to blow past us, and he just missed beating us. So
Yeah.
that's funny.
It was oddly satisfying to watch this guy because they were playing Jump by the Pointer Sisters on the way in, so we were like kind of dancing in, and then they would be like jump, and then we would jump, and then yeah, we'd walk in, and then for my love jump it, and then we would jump, and then yeah, so we were kind of slow rolling our way in, and the lady was like, oh, look at the girls dancing, that's right, ladies dance, 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 and then the guy who was like, I'm sure sprinting to pass us, and then he didn't, and then they didn't even really acknowledge him because Ann and I were too busy dancing and having
Yeah.
too much fun and making other people around us have fun too.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You know what would really
Oh,
have done, what would he should really done, Jenny, is stopped and danced with us.
yeah. Then he would have been amazing instead of
Hmm.
just some guy trying to PR. I'm just trying to PR.
Yeah, he's just trying
So
to
I'm
PR
sorry.
off of two middle-aged chubby women.
Yeah. So I really hope you got your PR, bro. I hope we didn't ruin that for you because we ruined everything else. Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then I would also like to talk about my gal pal friendship bracelet that my friend Chip Maley has made for both Jenny and I, and it says
I got
gal
one
pal
too.
because last week Jenny was a little cranky because we didn't all make gal pal bracelets at our gal pal event on February 13th, Gal Pal Day or Galentine's Day. So Chip made them for us. He actually ordered the beads as soon as he heard Jenny whining, and he had to watch. He even watched a YouTube video so he could get it right, and he made us Gal Pal bracelets. So Chip, thank you. Mwah, 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 mwah.
Chip, I want to thank you for making me feel heard and validated. So I appreciate you.
Mhm.
Unlike my sister, who just thinks I'm a whiny, complaining little a-hole. So,
Jenny, I didn't say all of that.
but you thought it, and I know you did because you do. Hmm? So yeah, so that was the first thing on mine is the GPB, the Gal Pal bracelet, that we were supposed to make at Galentine's Day, but nobody did, including myself. So I know. So that's number one. Number two was the Portage Winter Blast, which was really fun. It's so funny because Um, it's amazing how much my attitude towards winter running has changed, and I would like to throw that out there to the Run Kalamazoo group because they run rain or shine, brutal temperatures. There's only one day they canceled this year, and that's because it was like we woke up and it was like 12 below zero. That's the only time they canceled. Other than that, they've been working it, and so you know you get used to just getting out in the weather, and it's no big deal. So this morning when it was snowing sideways and blowing and kind of nasty, it's like, oh yeah, I'll just put on this sixth layer. It's fine. So so yeah, and honestly, like I said, once we got going, it was, oh look, it's oh okay, we have to close up on this. So and I'm bringing us in. I'm bringing us back in so
Oh,
that everybody can say hi to the cuckoo kitty.
the cuckoo
Look at
kitty who loves
him.
belly rubs.
He does love belly rubs. This is a special cameo. Look how he is such a black beauty. Hello, black beauty.
Mhm.
He is kind of a dick though, so you know.
He can be. He can be a jerk.
Can be a real dick. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about is I did something dumb yesterday and I don't know what came over me. We went to Costco yesterday with Chip and Joe and oh Joe, regional manager, brother sisters regional manager Joe Peters. And we went to Costco yesterday and they had this ginormous couch set on display and it was like a couch slash bed and it looked so inviting and I don't know what came over me but I ran as fast as I could towards it and then I leapt onto it like I was some sort of 4-year-old dummy and I got to tell you it was the most satisfying thing I've done in a while. It
It
was
was.
pretty great.
It was the happiest
Yeah.
thing Costco has seen in a very long time.
Yeah, I surprised some people. I got some looks and some laughs out of that, and I just couldn't help it. And it was so soft. The landing was better than I could possibly have ever imagined. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, it's so soft.
Mhm.
I highly recommend it. If you are at a Costco and they have this couch set, take a flying leap onto that thing because man, you will not be disappointed. It is oddly satisfying. So
Mhm.
anyway, that was my thing. And then of course the most important thing this week was that we had 2 or 3 glorious days of 60-degree temperatures here. I ran in a t-shirt the other day. It was great. Yes. I know. And then it snowed the next day. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that we have a series of fake springs in winter in Michigan, and I would say this was the first of the really good fake springs.
Yeah.
So,
And it
yeah,
usually
and
happens about this time in February because
yeah.
Duncan's nephew Jack his birthday was on the 19th. Happy birthday, Jack! He's
Happy
32
birthday,
now,
Jack.
and the day that he was born on in the 90s, you know, whatever that was, it was like almost 70 the day he was born. And then we're
Yeah.
like, yeah, spring is here. And then by Sunday it was snowing. So same
Yeah,
thing. So it always happens about this time.
I'm just really glad it was short-lived because sometimes if it goes on too long, everything starts to bud and bloom and then all hell breaks loose because
Mhm.
then of course it turns back to winter and it kills everything. So the good news is it wasn't around long enough for anything to go into bloom. So I think we're gonna be okay. So there
I
goes
think
the
so.
apple harvest again. So there you go. All right. So let's talk about the 5 things that made us think this week. So I'm gonna jump back and forth on these. So bear with me while I get to these. All right. So I'm gonna start with no, no. All right. And we're gonna start with your number one. Go for it.
Okay, so I finished a couple of books this week, and the one book that I finished was The Witch of New York: The Trial of Polly Bodine and the Cursed Birth of Tabloid Justice by Alex Hortis. Okay, so I got this book, Jenny, when we were at Unabridged in Chicago,
Nice.
and I did break one of my rules of buying a book, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but it's kind of a rule. And that is that I usually don't buy books about women that are written by men. But I bought this one because I really wanted to know about Polly Bodine. And actually, she preferred to be called Mary. Polly was the name that people called her when she was little, a little girl. So she really preferred to be called Mary. So I'm going to, even though Polly's in the title, I'm going to call her Mary out of respect for her. But anyway, in 1843, she was accused of killing her sister-in-law, and her sister-in-law's name was Emmeline Houseman. And then she was also accused of killing Emmeline's toddler daughter, Anna. And there was no real proof that she killed them. It's just that she didn't really act the way she was supposed to. And then also she didn't have an alibi. And Jenny, here's the best part. She had left her husband because he was abusing her, and then he married somebody else without divorcing her and ended up in prison. And then she had a boyfriend who was actually her son's boss, and he knocked her up. So here
Mm,
she is, an unmarried woman in 1843 who has left her husband, and she gets accused of murder. And then when they find out all of this other stuff about her, I'm like, well, she must be a murderer because she's a slutty, slutty whore. Anyway,
straight to
she
jail.
was
Jail,
tried
straight to jail.
tried 3 times. She was tried 3 times, and the first time it was a hung jury. The second time she was convicted. The third time she was acquitted, but still everybody thought she was guilty. Uh, the reason why I got this book is because I really wanted to know more about her, but I didn't read the title close enough. And this is actually more a book about her lawyers and who are all men. And
Mm,
basically the birth of tabloid journalism with all these penny press newspapers. And so about
okay.
5 or 6 newspapers that did their darndest to convict her before she was even charged.
God.
And so it ended up being more of a story about that, which was interesting, but not really the story that I wanted. But one of the interesting things is that they kept bringing up a woman named Madame Ristel. And I realized that I had a book about Madame Ristel.
Of
And
course
so
you
I
did.
decided that I would read both books at the same time because the book about Madame Ristel is actually about her. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to read both of these books. And I think that the reason why Mary didn't have a really good alibi was that she was 8 months pregnant, and she was probably trying to arrange giving birth in a place where she could give up her child. And
Gotcha.
it ended up not working out for her. And I think that's why she never told anybody what was going on because she didn't want anybody. No, nobody in her family knew she was pregnant
Okay.
when she
Ooh.
was arrested and charged with this murder. Nobody knew she was pregnant until she was in jail, and she delivered in jail to a stillborn
Whoa.
baby. So
Oh.
it was
Wow.
quite the trial. Anyway, I haven't been able to stop really thinking about Mary because of what she went through and the fact that she was charged and that she was tried 3 times, and her jury was all men. You know, she was
Mm-hmm.
the court was men, the lawyers were men, her jury were men, the men in the newspapers were writing about her. And it was just so it must have been so isolating and terrifying for her. Do did They never found anybody else to blame for her murder, for her sister-in-law's murder. I don't think she murdered her sister-in-law because they never gave any sort of motive for it. But we'll never know because they were so
Yep.
bent on trying her that they never really looked to see if there was somebody else. So
Right. Okay.
anyway, so that's it's given me a lot to think about this week. Jenny, how about you?
Well, and first off, I want to say that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
For me, okay, my first interesting thing this week was this. Nazgul, the wolf dog in the Olympic Games. So the way this is going to go today, Anne's going to give you all this amazing intellectual stuff, and I'm going to be like, wolf dog! Yeah, you guys, for those of you that didn't see this, during the women's cross country event on Wednesday, you have some finishers coming up to the finish line there, and all of a sudden, this giant wolf dog starts chasing these two participants, and people kind of freaked out and panicked a little bit. But it turns out he's just a local dog. He's a Czechoslovakian wolf dog by the name of Nazgul. And for those of you that are Lord of the Rings followers or lovers, that is just the greatest name ever for a wolf dog. So the Nazgul, of course, are the ring wraiths, the 9 kings who were given rings by you know um Sauron, and then he enslaved them. Whatever. Okay. Anyway, I digress. But anyway, so yeah, he was his people live not too far from this course, and they were going to a different event a couple hours away. So they put Nazgul in his kennel, and they locked the kennel. and the kennel is inside their house, which they locked, and outside their house is an 8-foot wall. So he managed to escape the kennel, escape the house, climb over the 8-foot wall, and jump onto the ski course. And then he was just super excited to be around the skiers. And so, yeah, the local officials kind of caught him and informed the couple that their dog was on the ski course, and he became a
No,
worldwide
Jenny,
sensation.
I
So.
think skiers would be much faster if they were chased by wolves.
I would agree that if we're going to put this into context, then let's go ahead and provide the motivation necessary for you to create your best times. So
Exactly.
if two fat ladies crossing the finish line in front of you is not motivation enough, then maybe a wolf chasing you from behind will be the motivation that you need to achieve your personal record. So
Exactly.
there.
And I'm just
We're gonna
afraid now that everybody's going to want what is it, a Czechoslovakian wolf dog. I'm like, people just
well,
this
according to the
this wolf
story that I
obviously
was
needs to run.
Oh yeah. According to the story that I was reading, the people that own this dog were warned that Czechoslovakian wolf dogs can be a handful. And I'm like, obviously. I'm like, uh-huh. Your proof here.
Yeah, he's a handful. It's like he will do what he wants to do, no matter
What he
what.
wants to do, and that includes escaping his kennel, escaping his house, leaping over a 8-foot wall, and jumping into that. So, okay. On that note, I'm going to talk about the Olympics a lot in my things that interested me this week. So this was a toss-up. I was either going to talk about Nazgul the Wolf Dog, or I was going to talk about the ski mountaineering um, sport. It's a new sport in the Olympics this year, and it's my new favorite thing because it's the weirdest thing ever. So basically, the way it works is that it's this event where people ski uphill as fast as they can. Then they take off their skis, which have a special adhesive thing that they put on them to keep it grippy enough to run ski uphill. Then you take the skis off and you put them on your back, and then you run up a bunch of stairs. And then you get to the top of the stairs and you're running up your stairs in ski boots, BTW. Then you put the skis back on and then you ski uphill some more, and then you get to the top of the hill. Then you have to ski down, but before you ski down, you have to remove the strips from your skis so that you can ski down. But here's the thing: you grab the little adhesive thing, and then you have to kind of jump up in the air, peel them off real quick, and then you have to stuff the ski things into your little pouch compartment. You can't have any part of the little ski covers hanging off, and then you ski down the hill as fast as you can, and whoever skis down the fastest wins. So this whole event takes, like, the men, it takes like 2.5 minutes, and the women, it takes them like 3.5 minutes, and it literally is like the most grueling 3.5 minutes I think you will ever see in an Olympic event. So
Damn.
yeah. So anyway, in the end, I think I chose as my more interesting thing Nazgul the Wolf Dog in his Olympic cameo. So there you go.
There you go.
Uh, all right, and next interesting thing for you.
My next interesting thing, which is not necessarily very intellectual, is the Liver King. So I've
Okay,
been
I'm going to show a
listening to
picture.
this podcast recently called Scamfluencers with Sachi Carl and Sarah Haggy. And they talk about scammers, and the Liver King is a classic scammer. And then a lot of they do a great podcast because there's a lot of research behind it. And then there's also a documentary on Netflix called The Untold, The Liver King. So I listened to this podcast, and then I watched the documentary our Netflix documentary. And my question is, are straight white men okay? I mean, do they need me to call somebody? Because this dude and his huge following, of course, he's an influencer, and his huge following, he has these 9 tenets of primal living that
Ancestral living. Ancestral.
ancestral living, yes. So that
Yes.
you notice he's very muscular, and he says this is all because of his ancestral living and his diet of raw meat and his sunning of his testicles and swimming in ice cold water and never wearing shoes or deodorant, I suppose. Anyway, and he has a huge group of followers, millions of followers, other white dudes who, excuse me, want to look like him. And I was like, man, white men will do anything not to talk to a therapist. They will literally eat chunks of raw meat and weight lift, whatever, and just not so they don't have to like deal with their fears and anxieties. Well, his other thing was that he got this amazing body. Of course, he walks around without a shirt on most of the time. The reason why he has
Ugh.
this amazing muscular body is all from his ancestral lifestyle, and not from hormones. Well, it turns out that it was a big lie, and he spends almost $12,000 a month on growth hormones so that he can maintain his muscular physique. And I was just thinking, and it was like, another thing too is that men will do anything not to say they're on a diet. So, here's this man's diet, quote unquote. I mean, he's not sitting in a Weight Watchers getting weighed. No, he's telling everybody that he's got this ancestral, lifestyle. So they don't diet, they lifestyle. They hack. They're, healthy. I'm like, this is disgusting. Can you imagine all the raw meat he eats, how disgusting his bowel movements are if he even has them? So anyway, it gave me a lot to think about this week. I was and then they showed all these young men without their shirts on. It's like, you're my hero. And I was like, "Ugh." And the funny thing also is that this grift isn't even his first grift, nor will it be his last. And the best part of this was I had my sister watch this after I did it, just watching her reaction, and we both decided that he's gross. But yeah, if you're one of those people that likes to watch influencers who are health influencers, I gotta say to you, it's just a diet, and diets don't work.
I have a lot to say about this because this was also my number two interesting thing. And like you, I haven't really been able to stop thinking about it for a couple of reasons. A, because this guy's a fucking horrible person. I don't even like to refer him as a human because this guy's not human. He is some sort of subhuman. Number one, uh, the level of disgust I have for him personally and his wife is beyond measure. The other thing is he's one of a bazillion fitness influencers, shamfluencers. What did you call them? I call them
Scamfluencers.
scamfluence. Yeah, and it really there's so much there's so much garbage on the internet, and it's so easy to digest and go like, yeah, that sounds something in the whole social media TikTok universe convinces us that this somehow sounds reasonable. But I would like to remind people that the majority of these influencers are not qualified to teach you to do anything. They are using secondhand knowledge, secondhand information, things that agree with their worldview, and passing it off as expertise, which is what this dumb shit was doing by eating raw meat. I'm like, yes, oh yeah, my ancestral lifestyle where I literally own every fucking gun in America, and the guns that don't work are just being used as lamps or house decor or anything. And this dude he's not a stable person. He's always been, his father died when he was young, and he's never dealt with that, and he's never dealt with being the little brother, and he's never dealt with not being a particularly compelling person or very smart or a very good athlete. All of these things that he admits to in the video, but it's okay now because he's got this ancestral lifestyle that he's living, and he's helping millions of people and lying to them. And when Joe Rogan says you're juicing and none of this is real, dude, that says something because that guy's not great. And so you've got this guy calling out this other guy, and the fact that he comes back after this is like, yeah, I lied, I'm really sorry, but now I eat vegetables, so it's okay, and that he's learned nothing, and the people that will follow him have learned nothing and will learn nothing. So there's
And he's
always
really
somebody.
doing all this to sell supplements.
Totally, to sell liver supplements, and that's the big scam is that, um, it's the same if you look at Dr. Phil, it's the same if you look at Dr. Oz, it's the same thing that we have happening right now, in America with our Make America Healthy agenda. That's not different. That's the part that really got me is I'm like, "This shit is no different than what Robert Kennedy Jr. is peddling at one of the highest cabinet levels in America." That he's making policy for people like this shit right here. And it
Mhm.
just makes me insane because people are going to get sick because of it, and people are going to get hurt because of it, and people are going to die because of it, because of horse shit like this, and um bad science or no science or fictionalized science or
Or
science fucking
science you make
fiction.
up.
Yeah. And so I'm going to say I'm going to encourage people, whether you're looking for, because we're all looking for answers. There's and I say this to my husband all the time, there are no answers on the internet. And yet we still are all looking for those answers. So I've stumbled across this woman. This is Dr. Jessica Nurick, and she is has done a really excellent job of establishing herself as a voice of reason amongst all of this horse shit that you're seeing. She kind of got her start by exposing shamfluencers or scamfluencers, wellness scamfluencers specifically. And so she does a lot of stitch work. She'll show some sort of clip from some of these scamfluencers, and then she'll debunk it and demystify it. And she's been doing that. Now she's starting to do it with Robert Kennedy Jr.'s policies. And one of the things that she talks about a lot is the idea that if you want to make America healthy again, you'll have things like universal health care, and you'll give people access to the drugs that they need to live, things like insulin, um, looking after, you know, menopausal care for women, or making nutritious food available and free to people or low cost to people, the things that we abhor in America. She talks about the fact that it's making America healthy again is not about tipping over the pyramid or telling people that to eat cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup. I'm like, which is such horseshit. It's fucking sugar, okay? Regardless of the form in which you ingest it, your body does the same thing with it. And so she's really great about, like I said, exposing the scamfluencers and holding our government accountable for um contributing to the poor health of America and Americans. So yeah, yeah.
I don't know,
So
Jenny. That
yeah.
was pretty. That was pretty intellectual.
Oh, sorry.
We were way more intellectual than the Liver King ever was in his entire life.
Well, and the thing that bothered me the most is the kids that he's influencing. Like his own sons who are, who have, he's twisted them into these little mini Liver Kings. And how many young men and women has he twisted to his logic? And it's not, yeah. So anyway, yeah, I've been chewing on that one. I watched it last night. I've been chewing on it all day today, and it just makes me super super angry
Mm-hmm.
because there is so much misinformation when it comes to health. Anyway, okay. All right, let's jump back to you, Ann. Let's go, because that was also my second one. So let's
Mm-hmm.
jump to number 3, shall we?
Okay, well, my number three is the book, which I also finished this week, Madame Restell, The Life, Death, and Resurrection of Old New York's Most Fabulous, Fearless, and Infamous Abortionist by Jennifer Wright. And I picked up this book, gosh, probably about a year and a half ago, and I was like, "Ooh, that looks titillating." And I was very curious about this woman who was actually her. She named herself Madame Restell because it sounded French, and at the time she was performing care for women, including abortions. She was it was in the mid 1800s, and it was thought by most medical professionals that the French were the most advanced medically. So she made it seem like she was from France, even though she was a working girl, woman who worked in a factory in England. So she came over to America. She was a seamstress, and she ended up working for a man who was he was a doctor, but during this time you could get your doctorate in medicine through a correspondence course. So it's he was not really a doctor, but anyway, he taught her how to make pills that would induce abortions, and then she started on um, her own business of this, and giving out free not necessarily free advice on how to prevent pregnancy. And then she would give these pills, and she made people pay on a sliding scale. So if you were poor, you paid less, and if you were rich, you paid more. And then she started performing actual surgical abortions. And in the entire time she was doing this, over 50 years, she did not lose a single patient. And this is
Wow.
before sepsis theory. Now, at the time this was going on,
Wow.
abortion was frowned upon, but not really illegal. And it was kind of figured anything having to do with a woman's body was pretty much a woman's problem. So if she was having problems, she would go to another woman, usually a midwife, somebody who, like Madame Roussel, who was not a doctor but kind of had a medical practice. She would do that if she needed help. And it wasn't until the later 1800s, kind of after the Civil War, that doctors decided they wanted to be more prestigious. And so they started actually getting medical degrees. And then they figured out how lucrative medicine, women's medicine could be. And so that's when we start to see the rise of the OBGYN. There was none of that before. And so what they needed to do is they needed to get rid of women like Madame Roussel and make women feel scared about going to them and not to doctors. But the funny thing is when they first started, the death rate at hospitals for women was like 40% higher than it was for
Oh,
midwives. So for a long time, women wouldn't go to doctors. So then the next thing was to get rid of these women. And eventually she was arrested, and they because of her arrest, she supposedly committed suicide, but there's a lot of debate as to whether she just took all her money and ran to France. So there's a
mm,
lot of that could have happened. She ended up being fabulously wealthy, one of the most wealthy women in New York at the time. She was ambitious. She did not take shit from anybody. She was really good about helping all kinds of women. Women could recuperate in her mansion. If you had come to her and had an abortion, you could recuperate in her home. If you needed help, like you wanted your child adopted out, she would help you do that. She had all the, she was uh, very, very wealthy people in the city of New York took their daughters and wives to her because she was discreet, and so she knew all these famous people. She had like one of the biggest mansions. She helped create apartments in New York City.
about that.
Before that, like places where middle class and upper class people would live in New York in these really nice apartment buildings. So she was quite the woman. She was not taking crap from anybody, and I was like, it was so interesting to read about her in juxtaposition with Mary Bodine,
I
and
bet.
how vilified Madame Roussel was, but at the same time so necessary. And the same people that would vilify her would then bring their daughters to her when they needed help. So
Absolutely.
and
Like,
it made me think about how in her time when she first started, it was easier and more common and more acceptable for women to get appropriate reproductive health care than in some places now. So anyway, I want it's like, oh, abortion is a bad word, or it's not genteel, or it's like she was a criminal. I'm like, you could say all these things, but a lot of women needed her help, and she helped a lot of women, and she did it without killing them. So
imagine that.
yeah, imagine that. So it was a really good book. It was an interesting juxtaposition. I mean, this Madame Rousseau couldn't vote. She couldn't own property. She couldn't buy property in her own name. She couldn't get a loan in her own name. When she got arrested, she had to be bonded out by other men. She couldn't bond herself out. So, all this stuff happened. She still amazingly became one of the most infamous and famous and wealthiest people of her time.
Good job, man, Rostel. Good job. And
Hmm.
brothers. That was very interesting.
Yeah, thank you very
It
much,
was.
Jenny
Well
Brothers.
done. All right. So my number three, uh, Heather Cox Richardson. If you're not familiar with Dr. Heather Cox Richardson, she's a I think retired professor. In fact, no, I think she's actually still a professor at in Maine. Lives in Maine, possibly. I can't remember where she teaches. Let me look that up real quick because now I feel dumb. All right, all right. She's a historian, American historian. Works as a professor of history at Boston College. I figured it was
Hmm.
someplace in Boston. For those of you that are familiar with her, she does a daily letter. You can find it on Facebook. She also has a Substack that she works from, so you can become a kind of a member of that. You can subscribe to her letter daily, and so it's like one of those things where it's really hard to read because she puts a lot of where she talks a lot about what's happening politically right now, which is not pleasant by any stretch of the imagination. But she oftentimes will frame it in the context of historical, so it gives you some context as far as the things that are happening in our country right now really are not. They are unprecedented, but also not unprecedented. And so, I was reading her letter on the Wednesday the 18th, and it sort of summarized the Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker's State of the State address this week, in which now, for those of you that are not familiar with JP or J.B. Pritzker, he is basically one of Trump's number one nemesis. And there's a reason that the National Guard has been and ICE have been in Chicago for weeks and months because he hates J.B. Pritzker because J.B. Pritzker is a thorn in his side. In his speech, he is very much a thorn in his side. But there's some things in that speech that I thought were especially important and I think really interesting. The first was that Pritzker noted that back in the late 1800s, when Grover Cleveland was president, that Grover Cleveland, I'm going to just read this off the letter, Cleveland, because he talked quite a bit about how Trump is trying to subdue the will of the people by what's happening in Minnesota, by what he's done in Portland and Seattle and Chicago. And Pritzker said he was reminded um, that President Grover Cleveland had similarly tried to subdue the Illinois population with hired thugs during the 1894 Pullman strike after the Pullman Company, which made railroad cars, cut workers' wages by about 25%. When workers struck, Cleveland deputized U.S. Marshals to end the strike. They fired into crowds of bystanders and, according to a Chicago paper, seemed to be hunting trouble. 25 people died and more were wounded before the strike ended. Um, Altgeld, who was the governor of Illinois at the time, fought Grover Cleveland like Pritzker is fighting Donald Trump, and that he talks about the idea that he will continue to fight in these unprecedented times. And though he longs for the typical problems of a governorship, that those are not going to, he's not going to see those anytime soon. The other thing that I thought was interesting in the letter is he talked about what it is to be American and um, what it is to love America, which I thought was interesting because especially during the Olympics where you have people that are so pleased and proud to be Americans and win gold for themselves and for their country. But he suggested this, and I think this is really a big deal. And this has stuck with me also all week. He said, Pritzker called out the love shown by, it's okay. He said, love is found in every act of courage, large and small, taken to preserve the country we once knew. You find it in homes and schools and churches and art. It is there, and it is not to be squashed. He called out the love shown by bicyclers who showed up in Little Village every day during Operation Midway Blitz to buy out tamale carts so the vendors could return to the safety of their homes, the parishioners who formed human chains around churches so that immigrants could worship, and the moms in the school pickup line who whipped out their cameras and their whistles in the face of every Midwesterner who put on their heaviest coat and protested outside on the coldest day. And I thought that idea, we saw that during the Super Bowl when crap, how come I can't think of his name?
Bad Bunny.
Um, when Bad Bunny said that love is more powerful than hate, that's how he ended his show. And those acts of love that you see, I think are one of the few ways that we can fight back in nonviolent ways against what's happening. And I know we don't really talk a lot about politics in this and on our show, but I really felt like this was worth talking about because I don't necessarily want to talk about politics, but I do want to talk about the acts of love that we can shed to each other, to our friends and family, to our neighbors, to the people that we work with that can help in some way, shape, or form. That is a form of resistance as well. So that was a big one for me this week.
Mhm.
So thank you, Heather Cox Richardson. For those of you that are not familiar with her, to say that she is doing excuse me, some of the heavy lifting right now when it comes to keeping people informed about what's happening. I'm surprised all the time that she is still being allowed to continue to do what she does because
Mhm.
you talk about somebody else who is a thorn in the side of Donald Trump. It is Heather Cox Richardson. So
Mhm.
keep up the good work, Dr. Richardson. We love you.
Mhm.
So, okay. All right. And brothers, sorry about that,
Mhm.
everybody. I've become verklempt. So, all right. Number 4 for Ann Brothers. Hit it.
Number 4 was the documentary on Netflix, Reality Check Inside America's Top Model. And I was never a watcher of America's Top Model. I think I did watched one episode, and it was on for 22 cycles. So from 2003, May of 2003 to April 2018. And you may not know the name of the show, but it was hosted by Tyra Banks, who was a supermodel. And then her judges were Jay Alexander, otherwise known as Miss J, Nigel Barker, and Jay Manuel. And this show was, for a while, it was like one of the earliest shows, a reality show. And not just a reality show, but a reality contest. And I guess one of the reasons why I never really watched it was because I thought it was really mean, which is funny because I'm really mean. But I thought, they a lot of time they were being mean to very young women between the ages of 18 and usually 22 or 23 that had no power. Most of them came from families where they didn't have a lot of opportunities or options. The one thing they were was tall and pretty. And so they fought for a position on this show with the idea that they could become a top model, they could make lots of money, they could help their family, and they put up with a lot of degrading situations, insults, put in dangerous situations where their health or their safety wasn't a top concern. They were put in situations where they could be easily sexually harassed, where they would be the only woman in the room, and they had no power. And the people who had power to advocate for them usually just insulted them for not being pretty enough or graceful enough or attractive enough. And Americans ate this show up. We were watching this the same time we were watching The Biggest Loser. And it was just a way for us during this time period where it was still okay for us to punch down in humor. So punching up was too tough. But man, there was tons of people who didn't have it as well as we did or had challenges that we didn't have. And damn if we weren't going to make them feel like shit for it. And that's what this show did. And this documentary was basically asking these 4 people, and then, of course, the producers and creators of this show, why did you do this? Over and over again, I heard it was the time. It was the time. And, Jenny, this show ended in 2018. So what? We're like
It wasn't that
8 years
we're
ago?
8
I was
years
like,
away from
no,
yeah.
we did know
No.
better. We know better. We knew
We've
better,
all
but it's
we've
like,
always known better. Yeah.
exactly. It's really easy to blame, Tyra Banks and her judges for this really despicable behavior. But man, did we eat it up. And then it turns out these young women that won never got the modeling careers that they wanted because modeling companies and designers didn't want them because they weren't anonymous. They weren't pretty, tall, attractive, anonymous women. They were reality stars, and they didn't want that reality star to overshadow the clothes that they were modeling, who they were advertising for. And
Mm.
so these young women never became top models, even though they fought so hard. And all the pictures, they're like, well, you'll be able to use all these pictures in your portfolio. They couldn't use the pictures because there was too much makeup. They were too overdone. So it was just all this stuff that went on. I was like, so they were promised all these things. They were treated like shit. And then if you managed to get yourself through it and be the winner, you never even got really the opportunities that you had hoped for. So I
That
thought
is
it was a
so
really
so
interesting documentary,
depressing.
not just because like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't watch American Top Model. It wasn't a big deal. It was a time. It was that early aughts after 9/11 when we just seemed to get a lot fucking meaner as a society. And now a lot of
Yeah.
people in this day and age are like, oh, well, I can't say things that I want to say, and people are too soft. I was like, you know why the reason is why we're backlashing against that? Because it was
It's
unacceptable.
because it's
We punched
horrible.
down in our comedy. We did all of this mean stuff. And I was like, thank God for all the Gen Zers and millennials and that are saying, hey, that's not what we want. We don't want to be treated like crap. Why do you get to treat us like crap because you have power? So anyway, it's given me a lot to think about this week.
That is and brothers. That is very interesting. Yes,
Mhm,
my teaching partner Kelsey, shout out to you, has been watching this as well and has been encouraging me to get on
mhm.
it. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right, my number 4, USA Olympic hockey. Dude, um, we won the gold medal in Olympic hockey for the women's hockey on Thursday, where the United States defeated Canada 2-1 in overtime. This morning, the United States men won their first gold medal in 46 years. Not since the Miracle on Ice in 1980 has the men's hockey team won a gold medal, and so they did it again today, beating Canada in overtime 2-1. So great game. Both games were excellent. Um, what was interesting to me, and I had kind of forgotten a little bit about this, they were as soon as they won, they grabbed the jersey of a young man by the name of Johnny Gaudreau, who would have been on this team. He was a one of the really one of the better American players in the NHL. Was on the juniors team that won the gold medal back in 2013. Had been on the silver medal winning team. Would have been on this team as a gold medalist, but he and his brother were killed and they were hit by a drunk driver on their bicycles in August of 2024. They were there. They were in Pennsylvania for their sister's wedding, which was supposed to be the next day. They were biking home from an event. I think it was a golfing event, and they were hit by a drunk driver and both killed. And so, what was really touching is that when they were gathering for their picture, they grabbed Gaudreau's jersey, and two of the American players went into the stands and got his kids and brought them out so that they could be in the team picture as well. And I got to tell you, I cried. It made me cry, like major feels. I'm like, no, I'm not crying. You're crying, because Joe was up there too, and he's like, "Whoo!" He's like, "I just got major feels." I'm like, "Yeah." It was really emotional and really touching. They showed his parents who were there as well, and it just was, just this really great, really sad moment for Olympic hockey, because this young man was kind of a champion of small players. He was only 5'9", maybe 160 pounds, all dripping wet, and had just been overachieving as a hockey player for years. And so, yeah, it was great. It was fun. Olympic hockey is my favorite thing in the Olympics, and so it was really great. I'm glad to see the men win. Really, really glad to see the women win, and just seeing how great the women did this year in the Olympics. It just was really awesome, just all over the place. Not that the men didn't do well too, they did, but
Mhm.
it was just it's kind of fun because you're starting to see, especially in winter sports, some women that are starting to kind of see their time come. It's nice. I really love it. So that was my fourth really interesting thing this week, and just really jazzed about the whole thing. So good job, you guys.
Mhm.
All
Jenny,
right.
very
Yeah.
interesting.
Thank you. Thank you, Ann
Mhm,
Brothers.
mhm.
All right.
All
Let's
right.
go to your number
So I'm gonna
5. Hit me.
keep this really short because we're running out of time. So, one of the books I'm reading right now is How to Dress Vintage: Recreating the Most Iconic Looks of the 20th Century by Gabby Jones. I'm just really enjoying this book. Jenny, I am fashion what Jenny is to sports. I just love fashion, and it's hard to find vintage clothes. Anything from the beginning of the century, the 10s, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, even the 50s. That's all being considered antique now, and fabric doesn't hold up well. So it's hard to find those vintage clothes, but it's fashion is cyclical. It never, something it's out of style and 10 years later it's back in style, or 20 years. So it's just giving me some ideas. And I love ideas. I love to it's inspiration. So it's just an inspirational thing for me, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So that's my number 5.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Okay. My number 5, I thought this was hilarious. There was an AI company out of China made an AI generated fight video between Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, and I watched it the other day, and I got to tell you, it's crazy how realistic it looks like them, it sounds like them. If you didn't know it was AI, it would not come across as AI. And so it has sparked all of these conversations about what does Hollywood do now that AI can do their job. And that's another thing. You were talking about America's Top Model.
Mhm.
Modeling is one of those things where AI can do that job now. And
Mhm.
so it's like how many of these artistic um, professions are going to start to really get hit with AI?
Mhm.
And that has, I got to tell you, it has Hollywood genuinely shook because you're seeing it in the writer's room. Now you're seeing it in production. Now you're seeing it with the actors. You're just like, You know, I'm like, do I
Mhm.
want to watch Tom Cruise or do I want to watch AI Tom Cruise? Do I want to watch Brad Pitt or do I want to watch AI Brad Pitt? Or which one am I watching?
Mhm.
So, um,
Yeah.
all I have to say is this. If you can do this AI, can you please AI me new seasons of Game of Thrones, season 7 and season 8? You can AI a redo. Now is the time. AI redo season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones. I'm begging you. I'm sorry, that's probably a really callous attitude because there's a lot of jobs that are going to be lost because of this. And not just in Hollywood, but just jobs in
Mhm.
general. And all I can think about is I'm like, they could redo season 7 and season 8 of Game of Thrones. I'm like, what's wrong with me? What an asshole. All
Yeah.
right. Anyway, we were up over an hour. So let's go ahead and skip to the end. I was also going to talk about the whole Epstein and Interlaken thing, but we'll get to that at some other
Oh,
date and time. Okay.
Jesus.
I know. So anyway, well done, Ann Brothers. This was so interesting.
It was so interesting.
I thought it was really interesting.
Mhm.
So thank you for spending an hour with us where you learned things about stuff. You learned 5 things from Ann and 5 things from Jenny that interested us this week. And hopefully they might interest you a little bit too. So if you want to explore them further or that sort of thing. But thanks for joining us, you guys. We appreciate it. Remember, we want to hear from you. We would very much like to hear your, we want to hear from you, answer our questions, our polls, give us your questions, concerns, comments, and
Confessions.
confessions. That's right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, look at that. It's the outro. Don't forget, you can always support us for absolutely free. Subscribe, like, review on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. It's free. You don't got to pay nothing to support us. Sharing is caring, people, so share away. Join us next week when we talk about the fabulous, the delicious Bridget Everett. It's going to be amazing. We get to go see her in concert on the 2nd. Let's go. Anyway, thanks for joining us, you guys. I am Janice Brothers, and with me is my sister.
Hey, brothers.
That's right. And we want you to get out there and do something smart, do something dumb, do something fun. We are out of here.